All right, cool. With that being said, welcome to the inner room with Out of My Damn Mind. This is the space where walls fall away, where stories don't just get told, they land. Messy, real, and alive. Here, writers open the doors to what drives them, what haunts them, and what keeps them going. Every voice has its own rhythm, its own scars, its own sparks, and together we trace the threads that hold us, break us, and connect us all. I am super, super excited to kick off July with this amazing human being. Anira, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, depending on how this goes, no, just kidding. You will always be welcome back in this space. Don't you ever think otherwise. Um, I'm really excited because I feel like after today, reading one of your recent posts, let me get the actual title, letting go of the savior complex, I feel like we might just be the same person.
I
So
genuinely think so.
so today we'll definitely kick it off. We will welcome in a couple of our guests, Brian and Chief Absurdus, Calibrated Chaos. Michael, thank you all for joining us. If you are new to the space, like Anira is, I come up with 20 curated questions for my co-hosts. So with that being said, are you ready for them?
I am so ready.
We're ready. We're ready for all the spooky shit to happen tonight. I'm excited. I can't wait for this. We like to always just kind of start nice and easy, slow. The questions, I will warn, do get more have more depth over time as we continue to go down them. So, to start off, what brought you to Substack?
Ooh, so last year I did this I don't know, I want to say witchy circle, if you will.
I love
And basically I ended up getting told to do like some sort of blog. And I was like, oh, what the heck? What kind of blog would I do? Like who blogs anymore, right? I don't know. That was what I was thinking at the time. And then I was just like, okay, like I'll speak up, whatever. I was teaching and I was like, well, this could be something that I like just get into in terms of my expression. So then I was watching some tarot videos. It was like, I had already been doing tarot for a really long time, but I had just started getting into actually like watching other people. I was like, wait, there's a whole universe on YouTube for this. So I started doing that. And then I ended up really just this one girl, she was like new to everything. She didn't have like that many followers, but I just like really vibed with her energy. She talked about Substack.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, well, it was about April. So I was like, oh, shit, I'll give it a try. And I ended up like really enjoying it. It was, when you first start Substack, you're just like, what do I do?
There are no
And
directions.
literally, there's so many directions. So I just was trying to figure out what I wanted to express to the world, and then it just kind of started from there. But I've been going through a lot of cycle breaking stuff in my life, so and I really liked tarot. So I was like, oh, maybe I can somehow incorporate this like intergenerational cycle breaking stuff with tarot and somehow mash it all together and find people that are like me. And here we are.
Um, I always love starting this question off in every conversation, just because I find it fascinating how us as humans get directed to a similar to the same space, but have a whole different ways of getting there. Like it always fascinates me. So I love to hear that you vibed with a smaller creator, which is what I kind of love because sometimes mainstream to me feels very performative.
Mhm.
Smaller creators are very authentic in the way that they communicate and vibe. So I love that. And I love that she kind of pointed you into this direction. And I love the mashup. Like genuinely love the mashup. Since you brought it up, I was gonna wait, but tarot is something that's been very intriguing to me, and I think, you know, people have their own interpretations of it. So, um, if someone is curious about tarot, but also a little skeptical, what do you wish they understood before dismissing it?
Oh man, like I was so skeptical of tarot. Are you joking? Like when I first got into it, I literally went in thinking like I'm a very practical person. Well, I know I am. I'm gonna say that, period. Like I'm a very practical person. So like I research a lot. I do a lot of I don't know, I read a lot. I just go into researching very, very diligently and hard. and intensely. Because of that teacher kind of aspect, I think that's kind of what really is my foundation to it all. But with tarot, I was doing a lot of my cycle breaking, really going into like inner child healing, and I was doing all this reflections in my journals. But I was like, I don't know, there was just something was missing. I felt like I could go deeper, but I just didn't really know how to go deeper. So I Googled it because I had a writing prompt book, but it wasn't for me at all. It was just like really boring shits. And I was like, no, I want to go deeper. So then I looked up online ways to help me journal prompt, like just different ways of journal prompts. And then tarot came up. So I was like, oh, where do I get a tarot deck? So then there's like metaphysical shops around me, which was also like, oh, there's a whole bunch of places around me. So then I went to one and I was amazed because I love rocks so much. So this place was like filled with crystals and rocks and like big rocks. And I was just like, this is so cool. My inner child was so stoked. And then I ended up getting this tarot deck that I love immensely. And it was so spooky because like my friend had gone with me. We came back and I was like, I'll pull you a tarot card. Why not? And it was insane, like what came out for me and what came out for her. I literally looked at her and I was like, am I, is this magic? What the hell? So after that, it was really crazy. So I would say if you're to open up the mind in terms of getting into tarot, just genuinely don't have any expectations. Just go in with like the most open mind because what will come forward will probably it's going to be spooky, it's going to be wild, and you're just going to be like, whoa, it sees me.
And honestly, sometimes I feel like most people don't want to be seen. But I had a friend that told me that she never bought her own tarot cards. They were all gifted.
Yes, that I found out that was a thing after, like way after. And I was like,
Like the deck finds you, not you find the deck. Kind of like adding to more to the I guess maybe a little magic that exists within them. But I don't know. I feel like nowadays, especially TikTok has a lot, like has a lot of people pulling decks, and I feel like every time I scroll, it's always either my grandmother has a message or my ex is thinking about me, and I'm like, is there anything? So how do you feel when you talk about collective? Because you do pull, and it's
mhm.
more a collective reading. Like how do you feel that is? Like, is that more like I'm pulling decks of cards that are supposed to find the people, or do people literally just wind up sitting, listening, and then kind of conforming, and they know that must be about me? Like, because I feel like there's a pull of both, and
Yeah,
that's why sometimes I'm like, skip all the tarot readers on TikTok because they're gonna start making me think things
yeah.
that are probably not even in my space, but
Oh, I resonate because like I resonate, but it's so but this is the interesting part for me, at least personally. So for me, it's been a very internal, like I've done the like hermit journey, like true hermit journey that kind of scared the shit out of me because I was so used to like all these different people in my life and like, having all this family around me, having all these friends around me, having all like my work, being a teacher, you're seeing everybody. And then I like legitimately went full hermit mode and I've never done that. It was a little scary at first, but genuinely it was the most relaxing thing in the entire world. I was like, "Oh, I love this." And so then I went on this very I went on a medical leave. So then I was just healing, genuinely healing, doing somatic work, doing spiritual work, doing mental health work. So it was like the mind, body, spirit journey. And it was like, that's how it started. And it was kind of wild because my body was speaking to me. And then I was noticing, like we were talking a little bit before about being observant. I was able to see the interconnection between my somatic healing, so like massages, chiropractic, acupuncture, osteopath. I was doing a little bit of Reiki because I was just like, I was so I was just trying so hard to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And then I ended up like doing the tarot every single day as well. And then it was crazy how my tarot literally, I would do it at the very beginning of every single day. And then throughout my day, everything was connected. It was all connected. And I was like, what the hell? So then I was like, I had been doing stuff for friends and whatnot, but I got called literally in a dream. It was weird. I have a lot of dreams too. I had a dream where this being came to me and it was like, do videos. That it was like my whole body was like paralyzed. It was frozen. It was very calm energy. And this being was like, you need to do videos. They're going to be very successful. And I was just like, what? I was like, nah. And then I thought about it. And then I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll go online and we'll see what happens. And I was not successful at the very beginning. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, you told me I was going to be successful and then I wasn't. Like, this is bullshit. But then I kept going because I kept getting this like call to. It was like, you
Yeah.
keep going, keep going, keep going. So I was like, okay, I'll keep going. And then and then it was and then I got a call to be like, go shorter, like you're doing too much, you're trying all this editing and all of this stuff. And I was like, just do shorts. So then I was just like, okay, I'll do shorts every single day. And then that was the wild part, was where I was starting to, because every single thing I do in my day connects me to the cards. It connects me to everything. And that's the wild part. So then, because it's on my side, right? Like, because I'm the tarot reader, I'm not the consumer, right? I see you guys connecting to the videos. And then this is the wild part. This is the behind the scenes part that you guys don't get to see, is that I've got everybody freaking messaging me. So everybody's messaging me behind the scenes. I've got friends messaging me behind the scenes. I've got random people messaging me behind the scenes being like, this resonated with me. And they give me, no jokes, paragraphs of how it resonates with them. You have no idea how much I cry like every single day, or like pretty often, because it's just like, these people, I like, one message that I posted resonated with one person so friggin' deeply that it like changed something in their life. And it's like, I just, so that's why I keep posting. I genuinely keep posting, because it's like, and then I started seeing I want to say more so around like February, that was where it was, like end of January, around February, I started like getting more aligned people on my Substack and more aligned people on like Threads. And like, I was just playing around and doing stuff. And it's just like the most bizarre thing in the entire world. So that's where I don't really like to focus so much on like love readings and stuff, because I personally like to focus more on the interpersonal, finding yourself, cycle breaking and whatnot. But there are moments where the love stuff comes through, which throws me off, because then I have to like get rid of my ego to be like, okay, this isn't about me. This is about my collective. This is about someone. And I can genuinely also, I have clairsentience. So I can actually like feel what people are feeling. And I'm like in the middle of the freaking forest. I'm just like, oh, what is this feeling?
I mean, there's so much there that you said that I was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But I wanted to welcome real quick Claudia, Michael, the Blasphemous Herald said hello. Well, good afternoon from the UK. Thank you. I love the UK. There's so many people that I've connected with that are over there. That makes me feel like that's probably England is where I'm supposed to be or something. I don't know. But um so it was interesting. I do believe so sometimes I get my own frustrations because I feel like I love every conversation I have in this space, but it is a longer form. So it
Mhm.
is requiring people to have an attention span past the 2-minute mark or even the 1-minute mark, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes I don't feel like they're performing in the ways that I'd love to see them perform. And then you talked about people messaging you, and I was like, recently, somebody that I actually met at the first PetSmart that I worked at 20 years ago, messaged me on Instagram because she reads every single one of my writings. Now I had no idea because I don't even know if she's like subscribed. I think she just reads them because I post them on my Instagram stories. But getting that message from somebody that maybe don't talk to every day now, but I have like some type of history with, to hear how the things that I'm writing are helping her through a hard season in her life because she just recently lost her mom, was like, the part of me was like, "Oh, I really love being somehow still there for you
Mhm.
in a way that I didn't even know until you shared it with me." You know, so it is to your point. There are a lot of also silent observers, silent people that take in what we offer to whoever's willing to listen to it. But
Mhm.
it is a very special moment when somebody feels called to let you know how you've impacted them in a positive way. Because I mean, I think what you do to what I do to what all the people here on Substack try to do is obviously help somebody through something.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's with tarot or just with words, or here's, how I was successful doing this for in my career, whatever the lists that go on and on and on in Substack, right? So whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's still people are still trying to make, I would assume, positive impacts on other people's lives. So that really resonated with me. I also love that every time you pull cards, you're in nature. I think that definitely is uniquely to you because
Mhm.
I'll be honest, like I don't see many people in nature pulling cards. I see them in their space, like they might have like a room that they set up or a section of their house that they set up, but they're always usually indoors. So I love that you bring nature into what you provide to everybody, like genuinely. I think it's very hard to kind of find yourself in a space where you feel like there's so many other people doing similar things, like to really find your voice. And I think that that's something that's unique to you, and I truly appreciate it. Plus you post about trees like every day. Like who doesn't love a fucking tree, or shrooms? Like you're like, oh, look at these beautiful mushrooms coming out of this stump, like
It's also this, and it's crazy too, because like I love sharing this with all of you because this is something that's happened to me my entire life. Is
Mm,
like there's these little tiny, like last year, especially when I was like in my spiritual awakening, like another one, it was like another spiritual awakening that I was in because there's been many. But last year specifically, it was like I genuinely was actually crying every single day because I would go outside and I would have the most wild animal slash plant experience. And then I would look it up online to be like, what's the spiritual meaning behind this so that I can kind of understand because like I have my own obviously personal
right,
experience with it, but it's like, what does this mean? And especially last year and this year, there's been just these very specific animals. Like last year I had a coyote follow me on a trail. And I found out that coyote medicine actually symbolizes like the dichotomy of like duality. So it means like they're very resilient creatures. They're wild, but they're very adaptable. They're very abundant. And she followed me, and it was like very obvious that she was following me too. And it was just like it was actually genuinely kind of scary because I was just like, "You're a wild animal.
you could eat me.
I need you to back up."
Yeah,
So yeah, I love sharing that kind of stuff with you guys because like I don't necessarily post things right away, and there's some things that I do like to keep to myself because they're very sacred, but there are a lot that happen and I'm just like, I'm like, do I want to share this right now or do I want to share this like a little bit later? When do I feel comfortable with it? So then I do when I feel called to. And even like going out in the forest and sharing, like I have to be cautious of, are other people going to walk by? That's been really nerve-wracking for me, is getting outside my comfort zone and allowing, if someone is walking their dog, like, and I'm doing tarot.
not to not affect you, because at the end of the day, I think what I've at least learned in my little struggles and trials and tribulations that I've been through the last year and a half is that if what I'm doing is making me happy, fuck anybody who's judging that.
Yeah,
But I could totally see how there's like a little bit of a very trained human instinct of "Oh crap, I'm doing something that somebody might have an opinion about, and I don't really want them to see me do it." But I think it's a great practice to continue to get comfortable with what you're doing. I think the wildest animal that I've seen. So I don't have anything following me. And I obviously come across a lot of deers, but when I see wild turkeys, it usually then I've seen them like in a huge flock, like a huge amount of them, and then I've seen like singular ones or two. It's like two or three of them. So every time I come across that, I think I've looked it up, and it's a pretty lucky, significant thing. But I try not to like get caught up in that.
Mhm.
Right? Because I don't
Mhm.
wanna somehow block it myself of whatever might be coming to me, or overanalyze every little thing that is coming, or think like, "Oh, well, why didn't I was supposed to have luck today. Why did I get a flat tire?" Like, something like that, like, I don't
Mhm.
ever try to read too much into it, but I think seeing wild turkeys always kinda gets me because they're very unique, and I think they're very beautiful, and they're very interesting creatures, to say the least.
I remember when you post this is gonna be I also have a ridiculous memory, but that was actually one of the, like I remember you posting about the wild turkeys. This is, like, I think the first time you did. This
There's a
was a
whole
while.
bunch of them. I took
Yeah.
a video of them, there's a ton of them, yeah.
I remember because I'm just like, because at the time too, it was so crazy for me because I remember, so my partner's parents, this is gonna sound so funny, but they were getting like hardcore into like eating turkey too, because I had expressed, I was like, I really like turkey, I really enjoy it. It's because I can't really eat red meat.
Yeah.
And then when that all went down, you literally posted that online, and I was like, "Shut the fuck up, universe." I was like, "What is
You
going
sh you
on?"
shouldn't be eating all those turkeys.
I know, no, it's so that's hilarious, but but it does mean, in my one deck, it's the oh my god, what is it called? It's the Conscious Creatures Oracle deck that I have. The turkey it says glimmers of gratitude on it. And so I always like whenever you see that, it's like, yeah, it's lucky, but it also is like a gratitude, right? Like that's the reason why I think well, settlers chose turkeys for Thanksgiving and stuff because of indigenous folks. So indigenous folks, like they know that turkeys are abundant, they have a lot of meat on them, right? And a lot of meat can be shared to a whole bunch of people. That's the reason why they're chosen for Thanksgiving. They're chosen for big holidays because there's a lot of meat, right?
Yeah.
So I think that for you to see them and abundance of them, I think it just shows you like it just reminds us, right? And I think that what you say is really important to stay grounded throughout the spiritual journey and to not get caught up on it because it's not always about like luck equates to money, right? That's
Right.
the perspective shift. It's like luck equates to like I maybe you did get a flat tire. Maybe that saved you from a something like a big crash.
Right, you never know.
You
That's
never
what
know.
my friend is always like, every time I'm getting stuck or I feel like I'm late, I think I say it's for a reason, so I'm late for a
Mhm.
reason, something saved me to better a higher purpose that sometimes we can't see. I
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that 100%. I'm also like, I can't believe I've only asked you one question. And I love when that happens, genuinely. That's why I don't know why I came up with like said 20, but I love when I do come up with said 20 and then it's like, "Oh, okay, well, we got through 3," and that's great. 'Cause again, the questions are not supposed to create the conversations, are there. I think sometimes I just try to have it so it makes us pick our brains a little bit. But, Calibrated Chaos says, "I feel you on that. No one else's opinion matters." So I think that was in
Mhm.
reference to you being outside and pulling tarot and then somebody walking their dog and stuff like that. She also says, "I've never seen a turkey in the wild,"
Ooh.
um, which I don't know what that means. I feel like I've been super blessed to see them, and I know where they are too, and I know around what time of year, and it always baffles me because it's like Thanksgiving is towards the end of the year, but I always see them in the beginning of the year. I always see them in the beginning of the year, and by the time the end of the year comes, I don't see them at all. So again, I don't know their migration patterns and stuff like that, but I know the areas and where I live and where they've become a little bit more uh reverent. It means you are God's fave. I mean, I'll take it. But
I love it.
I did really enjoy your recent post. So, in your recent post about letting go of the savior complex, really resonated with me. What made you decide it was time to write that story?
Yeah, so I've just been really following my healing journey with all of these posts that I've been posting. So I obviously love to focus in on my tarot stuff and providing people with energetics. And it's so I genuinely want to tell like everybody here that every single post that I do is a calling. And I know that might sound strange and might sound weird, but it's like that whatever is kind of going on in my life, whatever is kind of going on in this particular moment, that's when I decide to write something. So I like to uh I don't know. So this past 2 weeks, I've been really focusing on healing this savior complex. And then there's this one person I follow, I can't remember his name specifically on YouTube, but he does a lot of narcissistic abuse and the scapegoat and what that means. And every single time I watch one of his videos, I find that like something gets like brought up again in my sub in from my subconscious, maybe from the past, that I want to, this is what I would call transmute. So this is like to change something from the past, so an old shitty memory,
Yep.
to write it from a more healed perspective because I have put in a crazy amount of investment in my emotional, mental, bodily health, like physical health. So I have like a lot of experience on this. So I want to, and when I say transmute, I want to change it. That's basically what it means. So it means like I want to take this instead of like living in the past and being like so consumed and controlled by those memories. I want to change my perspective on it. So I change it by like I listen to this video, this therapist, he's a registered therapist, on I want to talk about like how that particular video helped me see things a little bit differently and then I'll make it into a post. And I just feel very called to. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm writing right now and then I cuz I don't want to get caught up on I want to post every Sunday because I was doing that, and oh my god, I was so lethargic, I was so drained by doing that, and I was just like, "I literally can't exist by, like, this." And it's crazy because like, I'm still being creative, but I'm still following a rule, I'm still following, like, a schedule, and my writing is just very free, so I just have allowed myself I had to let go of the scheduling part because I'm also well, sorry, I was a teacher. And that was something that I was able to control by scheduling things, by organizing things, and I'm really good at doing stuff like that, but it doesn't allow for spontaneity. So, it was about a month and a half ago, I think maybe 2 months ago, where I had to, like, really let that go and just kind of embrace the spontaneity of writing, and now I do that, and when I do, I get into the flow so quickly, and I can just, like, pump out an article that is, like, very heartfelt and very it speaks to my soul too. I don't wanna just pump out anything, like, I wanna pump out something that, like, I resonate with, you know? So that's the reason why I started writing that was because it was something that deeply I felt like I could speak on it in a healed way. I don't think I could have spoke on that, like, 6 months ago. I feel like I would have been a little bit petty. So
No, I mean, I think that's a that fair point. There's again, there's so much that you say that I feel like you're articulating a lot of similar things that I do. I just may use some like a different word. So you say transmute, I say reclaim. I'm always looking at places, people, places, or things that are maybe attached to something that is no longer serving me or whatever. So how can I reclaim that space or that narrative so it's more of a associated with something positive that does benefit me, you
Yeah.
know. So especially when I moved back to New York, a lot of the the spaces that were familiar to me when I first lived here had specific memories and people tied to it. So my best friend is my dog, and I now go everywhere with him, and it's just like I'm now recreating different memories, ones that I know that will never be like a negative. Like I'll never be upset that I went and I walked my dog here, like so it's a cool way for me to I like I don't know, like I said, I used the word reclaim, but then you said that you follow some guy that talks about narcissism, and I think that was a huge motivator for why I recently wrote a piece about narcissism.
Mhm,
Narcissism. It wasn't really about narcissism, it was about my takeaway from it. Because I do feel like there is so much information about narcissistic abuse
mhm,
and all of this stuff. And I have probably heard that word a bazillion times over the last decade.
mhm,
And I feel like I had tried to understand so much of it, and a lot of it, if nobody read that article, was more about because I had an ex-fiance who called me a narcissist for the first time in my life, and I was like, "What?
mhm,
Me?" I was like, "Well," and then I was like, so I and that was again very different version of me, but she was that version of me. She was definitely confused on how someone would get there. So then I started looking inwards and I started to try to understand it so that I could wait, is there something missing? Like, am I unaware that this is how I am? Like, I don't feel like I'm manipulative, but I don't know. Am I? Like, aren't we all? Like, I feel like, I don't know. Like, there are moments that I was just so, it's a lot. So I wrote that post more and like, I'm tired of studying other people. And I wanted
mhm,
to better understand me and the person I was that was attracting those said humans. And I
mhm,
wasn't trying to put blame on me as the person who suffered through two narcissistic abusive relationships, but more of understanding what about me intrigued them. Like because then it's like maybe there's something in there that I need to continue to understand about myself, to work on and stuff like that. And again, it wasn't because I was seeking that I was at fault for the abuse that I received. It was more of I don't want this to happen a third time, and I
mhm.
want to know what role I play in it. So it's interesting to hear you kind of bring up that guy who talks obviously probably about a lot of traits and what it feels like to come out of that and stuff. And I respect that information being there because like I said 10 years ago it definitely helped me better understand things. But nowadays I'm like I get so tired of hearing
Yeah.
it.
I think, well, even like, yeah, a lot of people, and that's the thing too, I think with all of the terms, right? And I think that's the reason why it's not something, it's not a term. I don't think a lot of labels or terms should just be thrown out and about. And I think that what you said is the key. It is always the key is finding meaning and finding understanding in terms of how does this reflect me and how what am I intriguing or what am I doing that is also potentially calling these specific people in because that's the inner work, right? Is figuring it out because we could so easily say it's all their fault.
They're
And
bad people,
I
yeah.
bet money that both of us, because I'm gonna only speak for myself, I 1000% was in a victim state mentality where I was like, it's all my dad's fault. He's a narcissist. He did all this bullshit. That's the reason why XYZ happened. But then I went to therapy, and then my therapist was like, here's a truth bomb. It's called radical acceptance. And you kind of have to, and she really challenged me. Like, my therapist did such an amazing job of like challenging my own narcissistic tendencies because I mean, I grew up with a narcissist, okay? Like, I grew up with a narcissist. My dad grew up with a narcissist. So clearly I'm also going to have some enabling tendencies because my mom was an enabler. And I'm also going to have some narcissistic tendencies. So it's like, okay, what am I specifically doing in my life that is like enabling? And maybe I'm like my mom and I'm attracting specific people in. So what do I need to do? Narcissists and just like people who are really self absorbed don't like boundaries. And they also don't like authenticity. They, or they do, and they'll weaponize it if you don't have any self-worth. And I genuinely can tell you guys that I had very, very low self-worth for a long time in my life where I was getting so much external validation. That's the reason why last year I decided to cut everybody out in my life and I went inwards. And it was the most uncomfortable thing in the entire world to go inwards because I had to sit with myself. I had to make decisions on my own. And I was so scared to make decisions because I was so used to everybody else telling me what to do. And I did them very well. I was like, yes, I shall do them. And I would do them so well. And then people would say, they would be critical and they'd be like, "Oh, you wanna do this?" So then I would like, jump on every single chance to be seen in this, like, really fucked up way. And now I'm like, "Hmm, I actually have been sitting with myself for so long," and then I remember being exposed to these people again because my brother had a wedding last year, and I wanted to be there for him. But then, this feeling of I don't wanna be there because then I have to deal with my dad, and it's like, "Okay, oh, sorry, Anira, my real name's Jen, but, like, my I just wanna be like, I have to go inwards, and I have to be like, "Okay, this isn't about my dad. This isn't about me. This is my brother's wedding. This is about him. This isn't about anybody else." So I had to, like, do a lot of, like, work, and I had to, like, take myself completely out of the situation, completely out of the equation. But then I also afterwards got to reflect to be like, "Okay, I was in that situation. What did I like? What did I not like? What can I do after this?" And eventually I had to realize, like, I had to go no contact because when I started asking things of people in my life after going through the hermit phase, people were being very childish and they were not meeting me in the ways that I needed to be met. And then I had to really focus in on the thing that my therapist talked about, which was radical acceptance, where I had to accept that people just wouldn't meet me where they are at this particular moment in time right now.
Mhm.
So therefore, I need boundaries, and that's okay. And that's where we really dive into these terms. We really dive into these, like, these things so that we can actually, like, it's not saying I'm never gonna speak to my family ever again, but I'm just saying right now in this portion of my life, I'm constantly checking in with my body. I'm constantly checking in with, like, my feelings, and right now, I somewhat sometimes want to, like, I get really angry that I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, probably shouldn't hang out with them yet." I need time still, I need a lot of time, and just honoring that time and
Yes.
being really honest with myself.
No, I think obviously one of the hard decisions in life is to take a step back from family just because maybe you're the only one at this time, like you said, that sees the dynamic for what it is and the role that you were always kind of taught and trained to kind of play in. And when it no longer is aligned for
Mhm.
you or doesn't serve you in the ways that benefit you, it is hard to make that decision, be like, it's not the lack of love, it's just I love myself more and that's not wrong, you
Yeah.
know? But real quick, thank you, Chief Absurdist. I'm glad that you like that piece. Calibrated Chaos said people throw that word around in order to gaslight as well. One of the biggest things narcs do is project. Basically, what they accuse you of is a confession concerning them. And I mean, now, after living and surviving two my last relationships, I could see that now. But I think again it spoke to my lack of self trust and self worth at those times
Yeah.
where their opinions of me mattered more to me than my opinion of me apparently.
Yeah.
So, I was very open and honest in that piece about, stuff like that because I was tired of feeling like I never felt like a victim. I was never like, "Oh, poor me," like boohoo. Like I never liked that anyway. So it was more like I am determined to understand the role that I play in my own pain.
Mhm.
Like, and that's period. Like, that's it. Curiously Delulu says, "Dark feeds off the light, and you are light." And I also, again, because of lack of self worth,
Mhm.
right? Didn't see myself as that.
Yeah.
So it does take, to your point, time, it is necessary. So I feel like I was forced into my hermit time. Do you feel like that was something life kind of forced you in, or that you naturally were like, this is the next phase for me and I need to isolate a little bit?
I would say it was kind of both, right? Like, cause I mean, this is not something that just happened, right? Like, this was definitely something that, like last year doing the medical leave, the year before that, my choice was to, during the whole teaching year, because okay, maybe I have to go back like a couple years. So 2 years ago, I decided to go on different medication because okay, we're gonna get really honest here, okay? Because, my okay, we're gonna just do it. My sex drive was so shitty, it was so bad because of the medication, and so I was talking to my therapist, and I was like, "Well, I still wanna have sex, and I still wanna, like, do this stuff, like, with my partner and whatnot, like, how can I not be like, I don't want to have sex with someone for like literally 3 months and then all of a sudden like want to. I was like, I want to have more consistency. Like I want more intimacy in my life. So I decided to go on different medication, which was really helpful. It got me into that kind of, into that vibe. But then I started noticing that my body started messing up with my like my gastrointestinal area. So then it's like, what the hell? One thing is not right with this medication. So then we switched it up again because just to help me out. Again, there was some more issues that came up. So then I was like, "Okay, every single time I feel off because I was going on new medication at the start of a new school year, which is
Mm,
fucking wild if you guys teach or know anything about it. September is the worst time for anything new to happen because you're already dealing with so many new faces, and I taught, in high school. So it's like, you have to be a consistent human in those spaces. So I was like, "Shit." So I was like, "Okay, well, I promised myself." I was like, "Every single time I genuinely feel off, I'm gonna take a day off." Well, I took a lot of days off to the point where it was, like, eating into specific benefits that I had, and my principal noticed this, and she said, like, "I think you should go on a medical leave." And I had been considering it because I was struggling so much, but it was a big part of my pride that I had to let go of to be like, sorry, Anira, Jen. I had to really like speak kindly to myself with so much freaking grace to be like, you can't do everything. You have to really focus in on yourself. So I did, with help from a lot of the medical professionals that were helping me at the time with all of the things that were happening. And then me and my therapist made the executive decision that it was like, okay, I think we should try detoxing, going off medication. And then I made the also next executive decision because I had reached a point in my healing journey to recognize that the stress was connected to specific people. So I
mm,
was like, I'm going to limit. I couldn't cut out people because I had that wedding. So I was like, I have to still deal with these people because I also like there was a lot of complicated emotions and stuff. So I was like, okay, I have to still be here. I still want to be here, but I also have to I was working through everything on my own because my family just didn't even acknowledge the fact that I was on a medical leave. So it was really fucked up. Last year was really fucked up, and it was so hard because it was like I still had to pretend like I was this perfect person with my family and all these people when I was literally crashing out. And, so then when I realized I had to make my body crashed out actually in December when people started being like, "Okay, come on over to just like Christmas, like nothing happened." And it's like, literally, I've been on medical leave since June, and not any single one of you have helped me at all. and now I have to pretend like everything's good. My body actually crashed out before I could mentally relate the 2. I was a mess in December. I went in November because it was November was when I went through, like, a very bad part of my life. And then, December was when I actually was honest with myself. And it was funny because the spiritual journey, Hecate, that's her name. I didn't even know who that was, or Lilith. They came to me in a dream state, again, in meditation, and I had to do a lot of research on these beings because I was like, what again is happening here? Because why am I getting these visions of these particular beings? This is fascinating. And I also had to let go of my logical side because, again, like I said, there's a lot of pride. And I decided that I wanted to, I don't know, I just really listened to my body. My partner, thank God, he was amazing throughout the whole time. He just said, if you don't want to go, if you feel like you are not up to going to see your family, that's okay. I support you. And thank God, because I just like totally crashed out. And then it felt so good to be seen. It felt so good to be heard because there would be so many times when I was a kid too that when I didn't want to go somewhere, when I didn't want to do something, it would get overridden. So then and then you understand this because then you start going on this like, where have I always been self-abandoning myself? Where have I always been overgiving, you know? And then that's the reason why I had to go no contact with my family because I literally was asking for bare minimum things. Literally bare minimum things, and then my mom was giving me hell. My dad started texting me weird shit because he's an alcoholic, and he started texting me just weird shit, and I was just like, "Okay, I need to block you because that's weird." I need to block my mom because I that was the hardest thing that I had to do, genuinely, it was the hardest thing I had to do because I asked my mom on multiple occasions, I was like, "I need space, I need space, I need space," and she just didn't get it, and then I also it was and then you have to go through this guilt of, like, because I was feeling their guilt. It wasn't even my guilt, I was feeling their guilt, I was feeling their shame, 'cause they know that they treated me so poorly, like, they weren't there for me in the ways that they needed, that I needed, and, I don't know, it's just a whole thing, so I'm just really proud of myself right now because it's just like
Well, I'm proud too, because again, I know calibrated chaos could probably resonate with removing from family, but I know it's not easy to do that. And what I keep discovering in this day and age is life can be really difficult and really lonely, especially when you can't turn to the said people, right? Your parents are supposed to be the ones that no matter how old you are, they're there to support you and stuff. And when you don't feel like that's an option for you, that makes things difficult. Um, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I read a lot about oldest daughters and the trials and tribulations that we go through and stuff like that. I like to think that my family shows up for me in the ways that they know how to. It may not be the ways that I actually need.
Mhm,
And what I've come to realize is that disconnect is not something that I'm too tired to try to fight and explain it anymore. So
mhm,
I don't go through the stages of blocking or whatever, but I do limit sometimes how often I talk to my mom or how often I talk to my dad or what kind of conversations I have with them or if I feel like the way to keep my peace without completely exiling my family is just I have a good understanding of who each individual is and I know what and when to talk to who about what and I don't expect things from them
yeah,
anymore. I think when I remove that, it makes it, let's say, a little bit easier. But I mean, it's never really easy to say, well, my mom and dad have supported me in ways that I can totally appreciate. But when it comes to emotionally, it has definitely been something like I don't remember getting hugs or having
Mhm.
space that felt safe enough that I could talk about my feelings without my feelings then being a problem. So, you know, that does take a toll on people. So I can respect and be very proud of all the steps that you've taken to continue making sure that your peace is always at the forefront. I don't think that that makes you a bad person, and I don't think your family are necessarily bad families. I think again, everything is designed for your discoverability of who you were always destined to become, and I don't think without those pieces, that you might not have ever gotten there. So, you know,
Yeah, and I think, like, the thing is too with the space, like, everyone goes through their own journey, so I'm definitely not saying that my journey is the journey to go on because it's like everybody has a different journey, and I'm seeing the comments too. It's like everybody has a different journey, everybody's at a different point, and, like, everybody has different emotions, like, there's so much anger, there's either so much, like, apathy, and it's like no matter what point you are on the stage of the journey, it's like just it's all about honoring your needs and listening to your inner light and your inner wisdom because like what works for me right now may not be safe for someone else. Like someone else blocking someone could be very unsafe. It could cause even more chaos for someone. So like I definitely want to say that like what I'm doing is very personal. This is something that I've thought very deeply on, and it's been really difficult, but I know that what I'm working on and what I need to do at this point in time needs so much boundaries and so much space. And I have also curated that space over years of time. So it's like I have like this is personal to me in my stage right now. But again, who knows what's going to happen in the next like 5 years? Who knows? Like
right,
and I do personally think that like the space that I'm like, you know, this space is needed in my family and my generational line because my mom and my nana, like, they have codependency issues. So I think that me breaking this codependency issue, it's almost like a permission slip for my entire family to kind of take time because it does create ripples. And then it's like, okay, well then what does my family do with the space? Like, does my family work on their addiction issues? Does my mom actually like wake up to the illusion, right? Like these are the things that I get to like maybe a year down the line we check in together and I say, "Hey, what's up?" And then it's like the same thing. Okay, well maybe we need more space and time. So it's not to say that I even know where this is going. I can genuinely say that that's the unknown and I have to embrace it. But it's something that, you know, you kind of have to grieve every not every day maybe. I mean, I've been grieving in my own nonlinear healing journey, but at the same time, I'm also really thriving with this creative process and like really learning how to expand myself in ways like give myself, I want to say give myself like acts of service to people that really lights up my soul. And writing my book, publishing my book, and stuff like that is a big thing. So then I need space to do that. You need to be a hermit in order to do this stuff, right? So I think my family will get it eventually when they start seeing everything, but again, that's not up for me to control.
right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna run to the comments real quick, and then we're gonna introduce one of my favorite parts of this show now. Calibrated Chaos says, "Oh yes, I talk a lot of shit, but it's absolutely not easy." Libra says, "Me too. I don't explain anymore." Beautifully Broken says, "I had to fall back from a lot of my family. Most are still stuck in an addiction, but now that my mom's gone, I always get sad when people distance themselves from their moms, even though I totally understand why I had to myself. It just hurts now that she's gone."
Yeah,
I think you definitely have an interesting perspective on it, Beautifully Broken, because of the type of relationship you have with her mom and because she's no longer here. But I
mhm.
agree. Yeah, it is hard for anybody, I think, to say I'm not talking to this said person in my family or all my entire family. Like that's not an easy decision at all. Calibrated Chaos says, "Well, at least initially, I'm totally fine now. Like seriously, I think that's just because she's had more time and distance away from her family and has come to terms about it. I think that's what she's saying there. But she says, beautifully broken. I'm honestly in a space that I can truly say I won't miss mine when she's gone. I think that's a hard sentence to hear and to write and to be honest and share. Um, I'm not gonna articulate any more on that, Bill. Libra said you should always do what your inner world says it's okay. There is no one fits all. Your spirit always has an opinion. General statement. I agree. From my experience, agreed. Beautifully Broken adds everyone's story is different and individual.
Mhm.
Libra says, I personally can no longer communicate with my sister or father. I get sick. That's how untrustworthy and I feel uncaring they are. Again, these are not easy things for people to share, so I appreciate people opening up and showing like sharing their side of what they've kind of experienced. And this isn't to say that again everybody's family sucks. Like
Mhm.
I think we are all handed a family um that is they're probably dysfunctional and quirky in its own way because of whatever path we're supposed to go on to this earth. And I'm not saying that some of us have like the most loving and endearing human beings supporting us 24/7. I think that's the part that probably makes it harder to say out loud is that some of us need shitty people raising us to become a better version of the type of person we want to be. And you know, that's how I just kind of feel. Beautifully Broken says it's hard when our family members have zero emotional intelligence or desire to fix anything. I think that is probably the biggest unfortunately uncomfortable disconnect that you could have with your family. I think I have always had a lot of emotions, and I'm not saying that my family doesn't have a lot of emotion. I just don't think that they're comfortable in those emotions.
Yeah.
So it's just oh, Marlena has a problem, so we'll just fix the problem and not acts like, is Marlena okay? Like
Mhm.
because of the problem, like it was just like, okay, well, there's a problem, let's fix it, and we're just gonna ignore the fact that this person may not be actually okay because of the problem. So that disconnect is very difficult. Calibrated KS says this is a great episode. Well, thank you. All Libra sending love. Libra said, so everyone has their own case. They have to do what fits them. Also, I feel not guilty because I know I have given them so many chances. If I hadn't yet, maybe I would have not felt the way I do today. I agree. Beautifully Broken says, we're human, end of story. Amen. Humans in progress. Lively chat. I'm glad that you're lively because before we try to wrap anything up in this conversation, I wanted to say it's time for the perspective experiment. Now, last episode, I introduced this fun little segment into the inner room. So this one is I'm going to read a note from a writer on this platform. There isn't a right or wrong interpretation. I'm simply just curious, where does your mind go first? Today's note is by Lisa D. Steinson, PhD. So I'm thinking this is maybe doctor, right? Uh, She writes, there is grief in healing, not just for what hurt you, but for everything you missed while trying to survive. I'll say it one more time. There is grief in healing, not just for what hurt you, but for everything you missed while trying to survive. So this is where I open it up to my co-host to kind of, tell me where does your mind go first, and then the chat. Since you guys have been so amazingly active, please drop comments so we can kind of enjoy this perspective experiment together.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that, like last year, biggest thing that I was doing was grieving my inner child and just allowing whatever wanted to come up to come up. So I actually ended up also doing like hypnotist appointments. And it was really interesting because I would tell him a story and then he would always challenge me a lot. And he would always say, like, he would give me these experiments. He would give me like these, hypnotist things. I would go under essentially, and we would rewrite through like a higher self perspective. So I would go back into my subconscious and we would think about a particular moment in time. And then one that really got me, that really resonates with me with this quote, was when I was a kid. My dad had taken me to like a horse show. And he had told me at the very beginning, he was like, if I say go, then we're going to go. And we were there for like 5 minutes. And then he said, go. I now can see as an adult what happened. There was drinking involved there. And I think in 5 minutes, the guys had told my dad that this was not a child, this was a child free zone. So my dad knew that if I would see, like, he was like, okay, time to go. I lost it. Rightly so, I would have a tantrum. But I just remember like saying, like, seeing my dad, like my dad dropped me back off at home. My mom was pissed because, like, you're leaving a child here, this desolate child that just wants to see horses. Um, like I had to leave and I didn't know why. There was no explanation. So I just remember going back in to that moment and just like really, like, as myself. So I went in as me right now and I went into that memory and I hugged my little inner child and I said, you have every right to cry right now. You have every right to feel the way that you're feeling. Like, my mom was pissed, obviously. So I was kind of confusing her anger with like being mad at me for crying. And so it's like, you have every right to feel these feelings. You feel abandoned. I remember seeing him out the window because like he left, right? He went back and he got shit faced. And it's just like, I don't know, it just like those moments where I had to do, it wasn't just that moment, it was so many moments of like, where I genuinely had no idea what was going to come up during these hypnotist sessions, where I said one thing and then I realized that every single one of those stories I was telling myself or telling the hypnotist, he was like, there's something behind that. So I would go back to those moments and then I would have to take weeks to grieve those moments, and sometimes they weren't necessarily like crazy moments. Sometimes they were really ordinary moments. And it's just like, when you're just trying to survive and you're just trying to exist, you don't realize like the little moments that you have to grieve. And grieving takes so much energy. And I think that a lot of people get like so hard on themselves when they become depressed. And they're like, oh, why am I so depressed? Why am I so lethargic? And it's like, because you're taking so much energy to even think about this feeling and to transmute it or reclaim it, right? To reclaim this part of who you were. And it's an ongoing process that we get to continually return to. So that quote really, like, really speaks to that part of my healing journey, specifically. And also, there's this healing modality called Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian prayer, and a lot of therapists now use it to help with these moments. So you look at them and you forgive, but it's also to forgive yourself too, to be like, you didn't know. Like, I was a kid. How was I supposed to know like that was going to happen? That like, and to punish myself constantly over like, I should have listened to him. And if I would have listened to him, then I could have seen horses. No, fuck that. He was being a shithead and he just didn't know how to communicate and he didn't know how to be a parent in that particular moment. He was human. I'm not going to blame him completely. Like, he had his own desires and he wanted to do that. Could he have done it in a different way? Absolutely. That the way that he approached me in that situation was not right, and we need to honor that. But I also can forgive that version of him so that I can let that go,
Right.
right? Like, it's not just about like forgiving him, it's also forgiving me, it's forgiving him, it's forgiving everybody in that situation. So it's just like, so I can just let it go so I can continue forward and I don't have to hang on to this like weird subconscious shit.
Yeah, it's funny because it's not funny. When I read this or I reread it, I feel like it's like two parts. So like the note is saying there's grief and healing, and I think
Mhm.
most of us could agree that to be true. Healing is not just like a joyful rainbow and sunshine type of situation. I think there's more tears shed in a healing process as opposed to any other time. So I can understand that. But then when they go not just for what hurt you, so you're not just grieving what hurt you, you're also grieving what you couldn't experience because of what you because it says but for everything you missed while trying to survive. So I'm just like it to me it's like it's such a complex layer because I'm like I don't think I'm drawn necessarily to any specific moment in my life. I think it's just more especially right now because I feel like I'm in such a survival state. You know,
Mhm.
this world is kind of fucking crazy. I've been unemployed for a year and a half and there's obviously an immense amount of pressure in what productivity I could do. Like this is fun, like this is cute. This doesn't pay any bills. So
Mhm.
then it's like, how much do I give into something that I really enjoy creating and making? While there's so much other things that I have to prioritize and stuff. So
Mhm.
I had it actually kept me in this moment of just like I am wondering how much I am currently missing in my life because I'm so fucking focused on just surviving it right now.
Mhm.
So like I don't know. So this quote maybe hit me obviously very differently because it's really just grieving the understanding that I'm not going to get today back or yesterday back or any of the days the last year and a half, and I might have unfortunately missed out in things because of this focus of well you have to survive in this world right now and what does that mean so you know I appreciate you sharing a memory um because your memory triggered my understanding of yeah I recently I don't know it was like a couple months ago I wrote something where I was no me and Mindful of It used to do prompts and I had stopped because she had written one prompt and then I couldn't write through and it trying to write through that prompt, it kind of hit me like a fucking a bus, a ton of bricks, whatever cliche shit you want to say is just like I have been doing something for a really long time in my life and
Mhm.
I like mourn the kid that never got to be a kid, you
Mhm.
know? So I don't know this quote really got to me apparently today. But let's run to the chat real quick and see if anybody has their own interpretation. So, Beautifully Broken said, "I suck so bad at abstract, it's fine." And it just that just kinda made me chuckle. I mean, yeah, you know you. That's all I'll say. Libra said, I feel it depends on how bad the suffering, uh, is or suffering was. In extreme cases, 100%. In my case, suffering was not an extreme feel. For me, what makes me happy is perseverance. However, I have noticed a new thing. Some questions about me ask me release the past emotions with tears.
Mhm.
Mm, felt beautifully broken. Then says, "I'm a fast griever. Like a couple of days of sadness, and then I'm good. Never affects me again."
Mhm.
Which to me, I'm just like, how did you create that superpower, my friend? Like, there's something in your life that definitely probably needed you to be that way to survive that.
Mhm.
But Calibrated Chaos says, "Oh my god, same. I get over shit and never think about it again." I am such a ruminator, apparently.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
because it's like to me, it's like, and I had Amber's healing a couple of weeks ago on here, and she had a post talking about like, you know, I spend a lot of time reflecting on things that I've experienced, but then to her point was like, how much time is too much time? Like, how much of it is us just like trying to you know, squeeze a lemon and you've already squeezed it. There's no more juice, and you're still fucking stuck on it. Like, when do you learn to let shit go?
Yeah.
So that's definitely been something for me. CC, we're all kindred spirits. You're fabulous. I love that. Hello, bathroom guy. The bathrobe guy, sorry. Wise Wing, thanks for joining. Robes, peace and loving kindness to you. Madison Tale, when dealing with multiple traumas, peeling back the layers is a long emotional process. Completely agree. I can certainly give you the perspective from a 52-year-old woman. We love perspectives from everyone. Beautifully broken. I am not calling you a psychopath. Oh, I didn't even realize that you guys kind of went in on these comments, so I appreciate that. Lieber adds, yes, maybe because you haven't gotten any justice grieving the inner child.
Mm.
Madison Tail says, because we hold a lot for others. Hmm. I'm trying to not do that anymore, guys.
Yeah.
I think again, what I've kind of learned about myself in the past year is there's a lot of things that I have been doing for a very long time, unknowing that I was maybe that way because of maybe one specific incident that happened long time ago that I continue to just to know this is like a part of my rhythm and beat. So that's where I've been able to kind of give myself grace because it's like if you have learned to do something for fucking decades, if you think that you're just going to immediately stop doing it, you're smoking that good crack. That good crack. I mean, so I that's where I'm able to give myself grace. It's like this is not something that I just shed in one moment of realization. This is something that I will now have to identify every time that I do it, call it out, and then, over time release that kind of habit.
I feel you.
Calibrated chaos said to beautifully broken. Maybe I should get tested. I don't think anybody's a psychopath. Stop it. Let that shit go. The bathroom guy says. I mean, yeah, some like apparently some people could do that a lot easier than others, and I respect everybody's journeys. It helps me so much. I'm sure. I'm 100% sure that it is a great way to live, and that this is where I sit down and I'm like, I spend a lot of day in a car driving around, and there's a lot of humans that I'm not one on one interacting, but I am observing, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, oh, I wonder what it's like to not really give a fuck. Like, that must be so freeing to not have like, not know what consideration is or what empathy is or any of those things. Like, because sometimes I look at 'em like, people are literally just about them. Like, they're only worried about their moment and their minute of whatever they're working on or whatever they're trying to do. Like, the way people cut people off, while they're driving, the way that people are super rude to other people. I'm just like, "Yo, life can be very wild when you're super observant about it." So, I sometimes will definitely sit there and be like, "I don't care what anybody tells me, empathy kind of feels like a curse most days." Because some people don't have it.
I think too with that, that's the one thing that I've been learning with the boundaries is like upholding boundaries with love while also using in like letting things go and whatnot, especially in the spiritual community. They also teach you about detachment. And that's because like empathy, I find, because I'm also we're very empathetic humans here, and I think that it's really important to hold compassion for people while also recognizing your own capacity, your own limits, and being like, because there's always going to be someone who needs you. There's always going to be someone who's going to try to pull on your energy. And it's like, okay, well, how do I want to provide my gifts? How do I want to focus my energy into this world? Because if I just give my energy to anybody, then I'm going to get drained. So it's like learning how to give from a full cup. And I think that's like the hardest part is the detachment, for me at least, the detachment journey. And I think now that I have really learned that through a very refined process, the universe has provided me over the past couple months with little tiny, I want to say, tests with this, where I've had to like let certain people go in interesting ways, where I'm like, okay, I got this. I think I got this, because now I know to give myself time and space. Before, I would just get so caught up in someone's bullshit. I'd be like, ooh, they've got their drama, and it was so familiar to me. I was like, oh, your drama, your chaos. And I'm like, I just want to listen. I'm an empathetic person, but it's like, whoa, hold up. You gotta, like, yes, that person has drama, but like you said, you're so good at articulating this, is like you just have to like let people go through their journey. You have to let people go through that on their own. And like, is this
I'm
beneficial?
not saving anybody. I'm not here to fucking save anyone. Like, right? And
Exactly.
that's to your point, to your recent thing is just like again, I have I have try to understand. And I think, to my point, especially in romantic relationships, because I can empathize with why you are the way you are, even if you don't understand it. I
Yeah.
see it. I see it, and I've excused that to kind of give you a free pass to continue to be that way. And then to me, that's I'm just enabling your bad behavior. I'm done with that.
Exactly.
So, moving forward in my life, I'm definitely trying to stay with calm. I'm fucking allergic to drama. I don't want to hear it.
Mhm.
And it's crazy because I host these things where, like, I'm opening people. I'm like hoping people will open up and share their stories. That's different to me.
It
When
is.
somebody, like, when you have like a consistent friend that just is always running into some shitty shit all the time, yeah, I'm not the person you're calling, because if you can't identify your own patterns to what you're doing, I am not here to try to point you that way. I'm not like I've done it too much. It's fucking exhausting. Like, people will figure things out on their own. So yeah, I have zero people at my table. I have zero people that I consider friends in my life at this time. And it
Mhm.
was one of the hardest decisions to say to somebody, like, hey, I know we've known each other for like 20 years, but I don't think we know each other anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's best that we kind of just separate ways, because I don't want to come out my face and say something to you that's going to upset you, and now you're just going to be mad at me, and I don't want the same back, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think respectfully, it's time for you to go on your journey without me, and it's time for me to go on my journey without you, and there was literally no hard feelings. Like, that was probably one of the hardest things to, like, communicate to somebody who may not be there yet to understand, well, why is my friend leaving?
Yeah.
Like, why is my friend abandoning me? Because that's not what I was trying to do.
Yeah, well, you have to you also in this, like, with protecting yourself, you have to also become, because you're so observant, you're so aware, and I love that about you. And I think that, like, you also have to hold space to be like, I'm okay with being the villain. I'm okay with being the villain in your life because right now,
I mean, to some people, that's all I've ever been. And I've always thought, like, that's fucking weird. I'm like the nicest human on the face of the earth. I'm a huge people pleaser. What are you talking about? How could you not like me? Like, that was like me, right?
yeah,
Like, I was conforming to any type of situation just to be liked. So, like, what do you mean you don't like me? So it's interesting now being more okay with people are going to perceive me or label me however they want to, and I'm no
exactly.
longer trying to drive which way that goes.
Yeah,
And I'm okay with whatever you come up, because at the end of the day, maybe I am supposed to be the villain in your story.
exactly.
Maybe I am supposed to be the person that does something that wakes your fucking ass up. Then so be it. Like, that was the role that apparently I was supposed to play for you. But I cannot believe how I was like, "Oh my god, Anira, we went over an hour." I'm going to run to the comments real quick before we wrap this up. I appreciate everybody that has been a part of this space all day with us, added their 2 cents and shared their stories. It means a lot to me, that this space continues to hopefully be safe enough where people feel comfortable enough to share and understand that there are other people here that can resonate with them. Calibrated Chaos says, I don't give a fuck what anyone has going on anymore. Yeah, not my business, not my problem. No, what is it? Not my monkeys, not my circus, not my zoo, whatever. I was very similar, says Libra. Beautifully Broken says, Marlena Anira, outstanding episode. I'm glad that you have enjoyed it. Fire. My face got all red. Look, I got all red, so that means something came through. Calibrated Chaos says, you are gonna be my friend whether you like it or not, Marlena. Well, yeah, when I say I don't have any friends right now, it means, like, there's nobody in the state of New York in Westchester County that I call up and I speak to on a regular basis. That's what I kind of mean, I guess. Um, Beautifully Broken says, Caliber, because I feel like she just tried to say we don't exist. Okay, again, I love all the humans on this space. I love the friendships that have come from it. But you guys don't live here, so it makes it really difficult to, like, get together. Go grab water because I don't drink or anything.
Yeah, I don't either anymore. So I feel you.
Calibrated Chaos says, because people project their own internal bitterness and hatred. That's why they blame you no matter what. Yeah, and I think that part got exhausting. I think, and again, because I was somebody who apparently didn't know who she was for a really long time. when people would call me things, it would make me question it.
Mhm.
It would then, rattle something inside me, and it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm just a mirror, you're just talking about yourself." Like, I never thought that. It
No.
wasn't until later in life where, uh, that kind of hit me like, "Oh, damn," and then I wanted to hug little me or bigger me or older like, young, older me, like 20-something-year-old me that's, like, over here, like, running around like, "Doo doo doo." Um, Maiden Tate said, "Let's go deeper." Deeper? I mean, Anira disclosed her name accidentally twice on this show. She talked about her sex drive. I don't know how much deeper you want us to go. I'm just kidding. But I've taken up a lot of her time, and I do appreciate you as always willing to just sit and chat with me, my friend. And you are always welcome to whenever you want. I love having repeat co-hosts because it allows us, one, to create a continued archive of what the fuck we look like and what we were talking about, and then
Mhm.
two, catch up. I don't say like come back like two weeks from now. One is impossible, but two, like come back a couple of months, and I love to kind of catch up and see like, well, where have you gone? What have you been able to continue to figure out? What is growing for you? What did you have to tweak? Like those type of things,
Mhm.
um, would be pretty cool. Libra says partially, I feel it's from being too responsible. I
Mm.
mean. I think we both can agree, being firstborn daughters came with a responsibility that we never signed up for. And
Literally,
yeah,
like, I can't even just, like, stress that enough, yeah, and it sucks because it's like, I don't know, you don't wanna blame it, but then at the same time, it's also about it's not about blaming, it's about acknowledging, right? So
I think it's hard. I mean, for what I've heard about, obviously your family dynamic and what I know about mine is it's hard for people in our families to actually acknowledge it because they get super defensive because they think that we're calling them a bad person, and it's just like, nah, bro. I just want you to acknowledge that shit was different for me than it was for maybe my sibling.
yeah,
And I'm not blaming anybody for it, just acknowledge that my experience is real.
yeah,
How I feel of my experience is real. Don't dismiss it because you're getting defensive. Like, so
yeah,
when you run into those type of conversations where it's hard for just people to acknowledge to what Anira is saying, it makes it easier sometimes to make that decision to take a couple of steps back,
for
and
sure.
understand. Um, all right, beautiful humans. One last comment. Beautifully broken says self-awareness has a lot to do with it, or their lack thereof. Yeah, and again, to me, in this world of 2026 and all of the things that we have at our disposal, there are so many social media platforms of so many different people talking about so many different things, and I feel like emotional intelligence has become a huge topic.
Yeah.
It is interesting to me to still come across humans that lack so much of it. You're about to go lay poolside? Well, enjoy that.
I wanna come.
I was like, "Is that an invite?" No, I'm just kidding.
I think that's an invite.
Um, but every Tuesday, I look forward to an in-room episode and meeting a new amazing face. So just know you have a forever friend in me, my friend, and I thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you, everybody who is in the chat, who felt comfortable enough to share with us. I really do appreciate that. Um, Maiden Tate says, I'd love to call in and join you sometimes. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to DM you to kind of figure that out. But with that being said, you have been in the inner room where the conversations go deep, the connections surprise, and the truths linger long after the world quiets down. Until next time, keep listening inward because that's where the stories that shape us really live. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and thank you again, my lovely, beautiful co-host.
Thank
We
you.
will we will see each other soon.
Sounds
Bye.
amazing. Bye.